Hey, what is up everyone, and welcome back to Too Much Tech. And in today's video we're going to be reviewing the MSI Optics MAG251RX. And I know this video is quite a bit late as well. This monitor is actually kind of hard to find too, but it's around $360. I've seen it a little bit higher, but $360 is the lowest that I've seen it. So that's kind of what we're going to go off of today, especially when we get to the end and we're going to talk about a comparison to maybe one or two other monitors as well. And basically, is this 240 hertz monitor 1 year after release still worth the price, or still worth getting at all in consideration of the current landscape of 240 hertz monitors? Before we continue with the review, I'd like to introduce you to today's sponsor, Luster. You know, when you're looking to buy something online and you end up going through a bunch of websites and reviews to figure out what the best product is and if it's worth your money? Well, Luster is a free browser extension that helps you find the best products and prices effortlessly. Luster will tell you what the best options are for your budget and needs, show you all the reviews you care about right where you shop, like from Wirecutter, YouTube, and Reddit, let you compare prices across different stores and notify you when there's a sale. And it also helps me shop way smarter, and I feel more confident about my purchases even outside of tech products. If you want to save time, money, and always get best-in-class products, click the link in the description below to check out Luster for yourself. And again, it's free, so there's no reason not to try it. Thank you again, Luster, for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and start off with the design of the monitor. So basically it has very thin bezels on the sides and top of the monitor, and then there's a little bit thicker bezel on the bottom of it, and there's no branding either, and it actually looks extremely clean. There is a little bit of RGB on the back of the monitor, but honestly speaking, it's really not that bright, so I don't see where it would be very useful in practice, or even just throwing a little bit of RGB backsplash on the back of your wall. Honestly speaking, it barely reaches it. It's not that bright. There is a knob as well for the on-screen display, which you don't really need that much because you can actually use the on-screen display with your mouse if you download the software from MSI's website. And then you actually have a very compact and small stand that does not take up a ton of space and doesn't get in the way of your mouse mat or anything, with a little bit of cable routing and then obviously your height and tilt adjustments, but there is no swivel, so you can't rotate this monitor to have it in portrait mode as opposed to landscape mode if you needed it to. This monitor is VESA mount compatible as well. And then in terms of the port selection, you got one display port, 2 HDMI ports, 1 USB Type-C port, and then you also have 3 USB 2.0 ports. Why? I'm not entirely sure why you have USB 2.0 on this monitor, and they're on the side, so they're actually extremely accessible, but they're USB 2.0. So why? Let's go ahead and talk about the specs of this monitor real quick as well. So we have a 24.5-inch 240 hertz IPS display, 1 millisecond response time, you know, standard as always. And getting right into the performance, the modes that I would recommend you using if you are to buy this monitor, I would either recommend using the fast response time mode, because that is fairly balanced, where you don't have a ton of motion blur and it's pretty easy to game on and it's relatively bright. And then we have the anti-motion blur mode / the backlight strobing mode that basically deletes all motion blur, and it gives you an extreme amount of clarity. But the problem is, even though that mode looks absolutely fantastic and everything is clear, it's just the brightness is extremely dim. So it's very hard to see everything on the screen because the brightness has gone down to about a third, maybe a little bit less than a third of what it typically is on any of the other response time modes without the anti-motion blur mode. Running some quick UFO tests, we see that the anti-motion blur mode destroys the rest of the modes in terms of clarity, but that peak brightness, I kid you not, if you don't play in a very dark room, it's kind of unusable. And my room is not even the brightest room, but for me, I found it hard to locate targets and see just because of the brightness level of the panel. With that being said, I would recommend using the fast mode. Again, if you go to the fastest or the normal mode, I find that there's just a little bit too much motion blur, and the fastest mode for sure is definitely very hard to play on. Now, this monitor is G-Sync compatible as well, and if you're using it in the normal response times, you can use it. But if you use the anti-motion blur, you can't use the G-Sync compatibility. I do want to give you guys a quick update on monitor reviews going forward until I get some more official testing equipment. I won't be including like the response, not really the response, but the input lag testing, I'll say, in videos from now on, just because there's just a little bit too much variance. Even if I do multiple tests and I get very similar results and whatnot, if the monitor feels responsive, I'll let you know how responsive it feels. This does feel pretty comparable to the Alienware 25-inch that is the 1080p 240hz monitor as well. Obviously not as quick as the 360hz, but it is pretty comparable. Now this monitor does have HDR 400 certification as well, and I do think that the media viewing experience is pretty good, especially if you use the night mode, which has an AI mode built into it as the last setting, where it'll dynamically change the brightness and contrast levels on the display depending on what's showing, and it always gives you that little bit better of an HDR effect, I'll say. But I would not say that this is the monitor to go for if you're going to be doing like some heavy content creation, but for gaming and media consumption, I did find that it was actually pretty decent. I will say this though, this is not the best monitor that I've ever tested, but it is still a pretty decent value. Now, personally, I would not pay any more than about $360, maybe $400 absolutely max for this monitor. But at the same time, since I am a content creator, would I rather get this or would I rather get the Alienware 25-inch? Well, this is the thing. This has at least an anti-motion blur mode, where the Alienware does not. But the Alienware panel is a little bit faster and a little bit clearer without the anti-motion blur mode. So having the features is important, but if the features are not implemented well, then it kind of doesn't matter that much. If this monitor's anti-motion blur mode was a lot brighter, and even if it was a little bit dimmer than the standard mode, but it was very comparable in terms of brightness, I could highly recommend this monitor. Being as the other three modes are just kind of and the fast mode is good, but it does feel like I'm compromising a little bit on that speed. I just kind of find it hard to recommend at this point. I don't hate it, but there's just a lot of stiff competition in the monitor space right now, and we need to be bringing out our best options, especially for over $300, maybe even close to $400 in price point. But overall, I don't think that the MSI monitor is a bad monitor. I think that it could be a little bit better and a little bit more competitive if that anti-motion blur feature was a lot more usable. They got some work to do. Maybe MSI is working on a refresh, since this has been sold out for quite a while now. I really hope so, and I hope we're not too late to deliver the message. But alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoy, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel as well. Again, a huge shout out to MSI for sending out this monitor for review, and also a huge shout out to our sponsor for today's video, Luster, as well. Be sure to check them out, link in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitter because I've been extra active on there, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.